to the Truth in My Days podcast, where we defend the Word of God against the challenges of men.
Hi, I'm Dana Torst, and welcome to another episode of the Truth in My Days radio program. Today, I'm here with John Torst and Jason Chan as they discuss the important topic of creation and evolution.
We are continuing from the previous episode. We hope you enjoy.
But now, of all fossils, the most fun ones, the ones where you get the most claims of ancestors, is of course the hominids. All these human ancestors. We have all these bones and skulls and body parts of human ancestors. So we know that human beings evolved from ape-like creatures. Not modern apes. They like to say, you say humans evolved from apes, and so you don't know what you're talking about. We didn't evolve from apes, which is not strictly true. I mean, nobody thinks we evolved from modern apes like gorillas and orangutans. But they'll say, okay, so what did we evolve from? Australopithecus. What kind of animal was that? It was an ape. So we did evolve from apes. Yeah. That's the claim. This is from Time magazine, 1994. Cover article showing a Homo erectus, and the headline, How Man Began. Fossil bones from the dawn of humanity are rewriting the story of evolution. 1994, this is according to Time magazine. And they're telling you, everything we told you about human evolution before, it was wrong. Here's the new version. Believe this. Now, the funny thing is every 2 or 3 years you get an article just like that. Time to rewrite the story of human evolution. It doesn't end. Here's New Scientist magazine, which I just bought off the newsstand this week. And on the front we have Rewriting Our Story. New bones throw human origins into doubt. Again. If I had $1 for every time they've switched up their story, I'd be a rich man by now. It makes me wonder, do we not learn from the story of the boy who cried wolf? How often can they tell us, you got to believe this. This is fact. This is science. This is proven. Only down to say, we were actually wrong about all that. Here's the new version. You should believe this. And then we believe that for another year or two until they have yet another. And no, we were wrong about everything we told you before. This is the way it is now. And you have to ask yourself, the old saying, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. How many times are we going to get fooled by this? Let's look at the story then of human ancestors, the hominids. Okay? Pick up National Geographic, turn on PBS, you will see pictures of scientists holding a skull. And they're going to tell you this is a human ancestor. And how do you argue with that? I mean, he's holding it, and he's telling you it's a human ancestor. You might look at it, you see these black patches and you find out those are parts we haven't found, actually. So basically, we've taken a bunch of little bone shards and stuck them onto a model that we built. And many, many years ago, when I was grade 11, we went to the Royal Ontario Museum on a field trip, and they were taking us through the evolution gallery, and we're all supposed to believe in evolution, and they were showing us the hominid skulls. Now, these were copies, of course. The Royal Ontario Museum does not have any of the original ones. Very few museums do. And I was looking at them, and I saw the look so perfect skull. And I noticed a few black spots on the skull here and there. And as the class was moving on to the next display, I asked the tour guide, what are those black, not black spots, white spots. What are those white spots there? And he looked at me and said, well, those are the parts we've actually found. It's like, here's this nice skull with a few little white spots, but the white spots are the parts that we've actually found, which means the rest is just imagination. And that's what comes when somebody shows you, honestly, when somebody shows you a hominid skull, which is missing a great deal of parts, and they tell you this is a human ancestor, how do you know? How can you possibly know that this is a human ancestor? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many missing pieces that scientists still haven't found, so I don't know if you can know.
Yeah. Even if we give them a benefit down, say they find all the missing pieces put together, it does look like that. How do you know that that's a human ancestor? Oh, you can't. They just tell you it is. Yeah. Well, they do try to point to some features that they would say this is signs of, they would say, bipedalism. Humans walk on two legs, unlike the apes that generally walk on four legs. They're quadrupeds. And if you walk on two legs, that's a sign that you're actually a human ancestor. Like, for example, the ostrich, which walks on two legs, or the penguin, which also walks on two legs. Oh, it's not, humans aren't the only ones that walk on two legs, but that's birds. You see, that's birds. So, ignore the birds. So, okay, basilisk, frilled lizards. Okay, yep, there are lizards that walk on two legs. So, mammals. Okay, among mammals, only humans walk on two legs, right? Only humans. You can't think of, kangaroos, right? They're bipedal, I guess. Among primates, and yet there are some primates that seem to walk bipedal. There's an interesting black monkey that they called Natasha in a safari park in Israel. It got sick and recovered. It was walking on two legs after that. So even if you could tell that the skull belonged to someone that was bipedal, if you could tell, and it's very much a question whether you can or not, but if you could, it wouldn't prove that it's a human ancestor. So the other thing they will look at then is cranial capacity. And cranial capacity is, how big is your skull? What's the volume of your skull? How much does it hold? Because that essentially determines the size of your brain. And they say if you look at like monkeys, their cranial capacity can hold maybe 100 grams of brain. An orangutan maybe 400 grams, and chimpanzee. But a human, look at the size of his cranial capacity. It can hold 1,350 grams. It's 1,350 cubic centimeters in size. And they would say, well, look at these human ancestors and look at this lovely pattern of cranial capacity. You got your chimpanzees around 400, your gorilla around 500. Your modern man, they put him at 1,450 here. But look at the human ancestors. The Australopithecus, he's right about the size of a gorilla. 494 cubic centimeters. You move up to Homo habilis, and he's at 656. And you got the Homo erectus, 935. Cro-Magnon man, 1,370. And you got modern man, 1,450. Look at that perfect pattern. Look at how that cranial capacity is just increasing as you're moving from ape to human. Do you see, is there one missing here? Is there a human ancestor you've heard of that's not on that list?
What about the Neanderthal?
Neanderthal man, that's interesting. Why did they leave him off the list? Well, because Neanderthal man, his cranial capacity was 1,650. Bigger than Cro-Magnon man, bigger than modern man. Ooh, he breaks the pattern, so let's just leave him off. And here's another big issue. You're big, and this one as an engineer you'll particularly appreciate. How many specimens would you need of the skull of a particular type of creature to draw statistically significant conclusions about the size of the cranial capacity?
Yeah, obviously the more you have, the better. I mean, for example, if you only had one skull, it could have been the skull of an adult, it could have been the skull of a little baby. So, yeah, you need lots.
Yeah, you need lots. If for scientific experiments, scientific research, they generally say like a minimum of 400 to give yourself your 95% confidence level. Anything less than 100, they say, is garbage. How many specimens did we have to establish these? Your Australopithecus afarensis, 4. Australopithecus africanus, 7. Paranthropus boisei, 1. Paranthropus robustus, 1. Homo habilis, 6. Homo rudolfensis, 1. Homo ergaster, 3. Is that, could those numbers possibly be valid when you have so few specimens? No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I like to show this picture to my classes. It has a fellow named Bao Xishun, who at the time was the tallest man on Earth. He's actually the second tallest now. 7 foot 8.95 inches in height. Beside him was He Pingping, second shortest man on the planet. He was 2 foot 5 inches. Now, they're both fully functional, intellectually normal people. But look at the difference in cranial capacity between these two. How would they compare?
Bao's would obviously be a lot bigger.
Yeah, you could possibly fit He Pingping's entire body into Bao Xishun's cranium. Maybe not quite. But the point is, if these evolutionists found the skull of He Pingping after he died and of Bao Xishun, they would swear to you that there are millions of years of evolution separating these two. And we have Sultan Kosen, who is now the world's tallest man. He's taller than Bao Xishun. He's 8 foot 1 inches. So here you go. This is the problem. Cranial capacity, first, they don't have enough specimens to draw an average. And second, average doesn't tell you much because you have such a huge range in the human population among intellectually normal people. So it's the range you need to look at. So the range for human beings is just huge. So you have no really good way to take a skull and say, this is a human ancestor. It's done because the ideology says we evolved from ape-like creatures. Okay? And they need to find the evidence for that. And through the years, they've put forth many, many putative human ancestors, from Neanderthal man through Java man, Piltdown man, Peking man, Nebraska man, Australopithecus, Ramapithecus, Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Ramidus. I call it Ramidus because he was originally Australopithecus ramidus and they magically turned into Ardipithecus ramidus. But we'll look at that later. But of all of these, every single one of them is either fully an ape or fully a man or an outright fraud. There is no other. There are no human ancestors. If we look back at cranial capacity, the fellow called Villi in his book Biology, modern man has a brain volume of about 1,500 cubic centimeters, while the higher apes have a brain size of only 600. Richard Milner, in his Encyclopedia of Evolution, says living humans have a cranial capacity ranging from about 950 to 1,800. That's very different from 1,500. If we can have normal living humans with only 950. The lowest on record for a normal man, 790. The lowest for one who had mental complications, 511. Less than the higher apes. And yet this was a human. Meanwhile, the largest Homo erectus brains were about 1,250. So exactly in the range for modern humans. Some Homo erectus skulls contain larger brains. The Vertesöllös man found in Hungary supposedly dated to 350 to 400,000 BC, is estimated to have a cranial capacity of approximately 1,400 cubic centimeters, which is what our evolutionists tell us is normal for modern man. So there are problems with identifying any piece of skull that we find as being a hominid ancestor. And there are a lot more problems with these supposed human ancestors.
Thank you, everyone, for listening today. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, but please join us for the next part, same time and same place. If you enjoy our content and think this is important material, the best compliment you can pay is by sharing this with your friends and family. This helps us out a lot. Also, if you enjoyed today's program, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to this podcast. We would love to hear from you. Thank you for listening to the Truth in My Days podcast with John Torse. We would love to hear from you. Please feel free to share any questions or comments you may have. You can reach us on Facebook, Instagram, MeWe, and YouTube. Simply search Truth in My Days as one word. Again, Truth in My Days as one word, no spaces in between. And you can connect with us. You may also visit our website for more comprehensive material and to learn more about our ministry. Our website is truthinmydays.com. Thank you.